Hey guys, Dre here with a brand new video for you, sort of. For those guys that may or may not be paying full attention to my videos, you may have heard that I've started a podcast series lately on my website. Now, I know a lot of you haven't had the chance to go onto my website, harrison101.com, and check it out. So I thought I'd do you guys a favour and bring the show to you. Here is a full episode of the Motorsport 101 podcast, my official show, featuring me, Ryan King, and a host of other special guests you may know and love. If you like it, feel free to send me your feedback, and if you really do like it, you can go onto the website, harrison101.com, click on the podcast section, and you can have all 5 episodes for free, and you can download them too and put them on your phone, your MP3 player, or whatever the hell you like. This is totally going to be a free show, by the way. I'm not going to make you guys pay for anything. That'll be ridiculous. We are coming to iTunes very, very soon. I'm in the middle of the review process right now, so hopefully we'll be on iTunes, so you can just straight up download us as well. But if you haven't checked it out, now's your free chance to grab a cup of tea, sit down, just listen to a couple of old young guys talk some F1 and MotoGP and Formula E for a little bit. And just, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. Until next time, thanks for listening, and catch you guys next time. Sayonara.
Hey guys, Harrison back at it once again for a brand new video. Wow, we're off to a great start.
Fantastic.
Yeah, welcome to Motorsport 101, the Harrison 101 podcast. Oh dear lord, like that's got to be the record for the fastest blooper I've ever had on anything I've ever done. That was literally about 4 seconds, and I thought
that is Sebastian Vettel getting a penalty fast.
Yeah, how very Turkey 2006. Yeah, so essentially, I've already messed this up, but we'll keep it in as a blooper, because why the hell not? Yeah, so welcome to episode 4 of the Motorsport 101 podcast. Going to be a little bit of a shorter one this time around. Trying a couple of new things here. A bit of experimenting here and there. If we get a little bit of pop-in, a little bit of a filter disturbance, unfortunately that's my broken Turtle Beach headphones I'm using to record this damn thing. Hopefully it'll be better in the next week. I've got to give another massive thank you to Tom Stanley, who is actually giving me his Blue Snowball microphone because he's not using it anymore. What a generous chap he is. Merry Christmas to me. So yeah, hopefully that will be sorted out next time around, hopefully by Friday, because I'm actually aiming for 2 podcasts this week. Hopefully, we'll be bringing the Bike Live cast back together one more time.
That's interesting.
Time. Yeah, Lewis and Rebecca are down for this. So, yeah, the Bike Live tandem will be together hopefully one more time before Christmas, which will be fun. The gloves will be definitely off for that one. But, yeah, in this slightly shorter than build Motorsport 101 podcast, we're going to be talking about, guess who? McLaren! Only the 4th time in 4 episodes we've done this now. You'd think we would have got sick of this by now.
No, we should just start right up the musical first song. Can anyone just not talk about McLaren?
No, we can't help it, because they have finally have revealed their driver lineup for the 2015 season, and rejoice, Great Britain, Jenson Button is still here. So yeah, but Fernando Alonso and Jenson Button will be leading McLaren's charge next year. We'll be talking about that in a little bit. We'll be talking a little bit about the BBC Sports Personality of the Year, the most misleading award in sports. And yeah, Lewis Hamilton became the first Formula One driver since Damon Hill in 1996 to win the BBC Sports Personality of the Year award, and it's caused a bit of and I can't believe I'm saying this, an F1 versus golf flame war.
Oh dear. You know what those 2 stories have in common?
Yeah.
They both involve a British person dropping a Danish person as quickly as possible.
Ain't that a beautiful thing? But yeah, there's a lot of constraints that comes with that. Obviously, the big debate about Hamilton versus Rory McIlroy's merit. You know, talking about the British debate, the level of tax avoidance is going to come up as well, because it happened to Marc Marquez, the double MotoGP world champion, who had a lot of criticism from his homeland of Spain, where he essentially is moving to Andorra to train with his fellow rider, but apparently they thought he was going to be dodging Spanish taxes. Not entirely true, as Marquez broke down in tears to reveal earlier in the week. But we'll be talking about that a little bit more in detail as well. And finally, because no podcast is complete without some talk about Esteban Gutierrez. And, of course, he is now Ferrari's test driver for the year, and it's actually a little bit more complicated than you might expect. So yeah, more on that a little bit later on as well. So let's get McLaren out of the way, shall we? Because we can't help ourselves but talk about. In case you didn't notice, my co-host Ryan King is in the house again for the fourth time. Say hello, Ryan.
Yeah, hi guys. It's always great being here. It's great fun.
Yeah, it's always a laugh with Ryan. Trust me, he'll be my go-to co-host on pretty much any given show we're on now. So just get used to him. He's very American. You'll like him.
Oh God.
But yeah. So let's talk about McLaren real quick, shall we? It was confirmed. I think it was on what was it now? It was Friday. It was this past Thursday.
Yeah, it was Thursday.
Yes, last Thursday indeed. That McLaren revealed their driver lineup, and they got all the big fancy promotional shots out from the Woking factory. Their new era of McLaren Honda, obviously as I like to call them now. I saw a little funny thing the other day where they said that they were already handing out press conference notes after Abu Dhabi with McLaren Honda on there, where they still had the Mercedes logo.
Oh God.
On the press releases. Like, somebody didn't entirely think that one through, did they?
No, they were just so. I could just tell the look on their face were just bright. Daniel Ricciardo smile typing in McLaren Honda.
Ooh, they were so excited they couldn't help themselves but to get rid of the other legislation to say that they're no longer part of the Mercedes umbrella. But yeah, it's Fernando Alonso and Jenson Button that will be leading the charge where that one is concerned. Kevin Magnussen demoted to a test and reserve driver, which has caused a lot of contention as well. So, King, what do you make of essentially the new McLaren lineup?
It's not surprising. I mean, I still kind of wish they got rid of Jenson Button, but
Ooh.
Yep, I'm still. My view has not changed.
So you were still on the Kevin Magnussen wagon?
Yep. Now Magnussen has to set out at least a year, and apparently, from what a lot of people are saying, that Kevin Magnussen is probably going to get a seat at a different team for 2016 and just leave McLaren.
Can't say I can't say I blame him if he did something like that. I mean, it's not nice to be given this big opportunity and have it ripped out from underneath you because Fernando's rolled into town again. So yeah, I can understand why he might think the grass is greener elsewhere, because they've both signed 2-year deals. Like, Button's got another 2-year extension under his pocket here. So if he was to get a McLaren seat and things were to hold out, he wouldn't be getting a seat in McLaren until at the earliest 2017.
Man, it's like, do you really want to sit 2 seasons out? Like, even as a test driver, you don't really know how many weekends, how many Fridays you're going to get to drive the car.
Yeah, and they've got a very experienced team. I'm not sure Fernando and Jenson will want to sit out very many free practice ones.
No.
Like, I don't think Fernando would like that very much. I know he'd love to go around dishing out grapes to everybody in the Ferrari pit garage again, but I don't think he'd like to miss out very many free practice ones if he could help himself.
Yeah, and it's like, it looks like, and there were already rumors from the moment it was announced that, Kevin Magnussen might be racing in Super GT in Japan next season.
Wow.
And he immediately had to shoot that down.
Yeah, like, I can't say I blame the media for jumping all over that one, because I was like, Magnussen must have either the patience of a nun to say, I'm totally okay with sitting out for 2 years, at least 2 years. There's no guarantee that, that anyone will walk away from that team after that 2-year extension runs out either. So, yeah, like, that is a very, very experienced team. I think they've been in 27 seasons combined, the pair of them. Button's done 15 straight since 2000. So, yeah, Button's the most experienced man on the grid now, and Fernando is the second most experienced guy on the grid now. So,
Yeah.
they could not get any more of the two old men scenario in Formula One unless Kimi Raikkonen came around and we have 3-car teams for next year. But,
Which some people said that might still be on the table for specifically McLaren.
oh, God. Well, it's not that they're short of talent now, is it?
No.
To say the least. It's like McLaren have essentially copied the Red Bull program of sticking a giant block into their own conveyor belt of talent, only this time they haven't got the second team as a luxury to be able to pass these guys off to.
Yeah. They're just stuck there.
They're just stuck there now. So, yeah. Like, don't get me wrong. When Fernando Alonso comes to town, you answer the call. Like you're talking about arguably the best driver in Formula One right there. And, the thing with Jensen that I always felt was going to be intriguing is that how much longer do you want to roll out with Jensen, hoping the wheels don't fall off the wagon? It's like watching Frank Gore in the NFL. It's like every year I watch him run for San Francisco, it's like maybe this year the wheels will fall off Frank Gore, and it doesn't happen. So I keep thinking it's going to be this year, it's going to be this year, it's going to be this year, but nope, Jensen is still around. And to be fair, he looked like he was pretty close to losing his job. I mean, we saw Ron Dennis talked about this a little bit later in the week, where it was basically that infamous meeting after Abu Dhabi, where it was photographed them talking together, and apparently, according to Ron, all his doubts he had about Jensen evaporated after that conversation. So I don't know what was being exchanged there.
I think it's the magical, I'll take a 33% pay cut.
Yeah, it's like, I don't mind dropping my pay down from 12 to 8 million. So, like, I'm guessing that may have had a say in the matter, because apparently Fernando's on an enormous friggin' contract. Supposedly something I've heard in the region of 30 million a year, which would make him by a mile the most paid man in Formula One. Like, not even Vettel's new contract at Ferrari comes close to that. Like, apparently it's 2 for 60 for Fernando, basically.
That's insane.
Like, I've heard a lot of people say it's going to be 2 for either between 50 and 60 million. Like, not even NFL contracts are that big yet, in brackets, because for those NFL fans out there, Andrew Luck and Russell Wilson are going to run out of contract time next season. Goodness only knows how big those contracts are going to be. But essentially, yeah, it's an enormous deal for Fernando. And is it the right move for Fernando to go to McLaren Honda all of a sudden?
I mean, things weren't getting it brighter at Ferrari, and he basically lost control of the team. Anyone who cared about his opinion got fired.
Exactly. His two best friends in that team, Stefano Domenicali and Luca de Montezemolo, both got ejected that year or resigned. So, yeah, not ideal for Fernando when your two best friends in the paddock suddenly aren't there anymore and Sergio Marchionne takes no shit. Essentially, and we mentioned this on the last episode, that Sergio Marchionne is a man that does not like losing, and in his eyes, everyone is expendable. So, essentially, yeah, I think now was as good a time as any to get out of Ferrari and see if the grass is greener at McLaren, a team he kind of knows. Obviously he only did the 1 year down there in 2007, but it's better than nothing, and, he knows Ron, and they seemed very happy together in those photos, like, it's like they've been friends all this time.
Yeah, it's like, one of the weird things in this whole situation was, one of the reasons why people speculated why it took so long for this deal to go down, that a lot of people were kind of speculating that maybe Ron was trying to buy enough stock in the team to actually control it himself again.
Yeah, that's a big story in the sense of, yeah, Ron has been actively trying to pursue a way to buy out the majority of McLaren.
And apparently, I don't know how much stake that that he's going to get, because it's been revealed that, yes, the Bahraini royal family are going to sell part of their 50% to Ron, so Ron will have full control of the team now.
Ooh, boy. So, what do you think that's got anything to do with Alonso being the big money signing? Because, he does bring a lot to the table in terms of sponsorship as well.
I think so, but I think the fact it took so long for this to happen, that it basically was down to the last day, he was probably thinking about getting rid of Jensen and keeping Kevin. Because, Ron is usually possessive of his own talent from McLaren's young driver program.
Absolutely, yeah. Some guy called Lewis springs to mind. You may have heard of him. But, he is very protective. So, you've got 2 years of Fernando, you've got 2 years of JB, you've got Kevin Magnussen, who seems to be willing, at least for now, to sit it out and see what happens, and then you have poor old Stoffel Van Dorn, who is now the complete test driver now. He's 4th in the pecking order, and I'd argue he's good enough for Formula 1 right now, quite frankly, and it's kind of pointless him going into GP2 again next year, even though he's already been confirmed he is going back to GP2 next year, because the only 2 guys who beat him last year are the 2 guys that either one is champion and can't take part next year, or Felipe Nasr, who is going to Sauber. So the best of the rest award was Stoffel Van Dorn last year, and the 2 guys that beat him have already done 4 years each.
Yeah, Stoffel's got it, and it looks like Ron's gonna try to persuade Kevin to stay. So essentially, Alonso Bennett will retire probably at the end of 2016, and then Ron could just easily put Kevin Magnussen as the lead driver alongside Stoffel Van Dorn.
This is Formula 1, King. Do you really think it's going to go down like that?
No, because Stoffel Van Dorn's going to win the title next year, and where is Stoffel going to go now?
And that's the problem. I've always said it, because for those guys that don't know, in GP2, the champion does not take part the following year, which would be great if there was actual open seats in Formula 1 more often. Unfortunately, that doesn't tend to be the case.
Yeah, it's the least productive rule out there.
Exactly. So unfortunately, you're kind of buggered if you win the championship, in the sense of, unless you've got an F1 seat written with your name on it ready to go once you get out of the sport, then you're in trouble, really, unfortunately. And in this case, if Stoffel wins the GP2 title next year, which I think is actually pretty likely, given, like I said, he was already a beast as a rookie, being 3rd in the championship last year, an extra year of experience under his belt, and the 2 guys that beat him aren't being there. It's very hard not to call Stoffel favourite for next year in GP2, which puts him in an even more difficult situation, especially if he wins the title at the end of next year.
Yeah, and it's more like Ron has way too many drivers to do with now, and it's almost Sauber's problem. Except with Sauber was mainly just keeping them for the money. Ron is actually keeping them for the talent.
Yeah, there's too much talent. He doesn't know what to do with it. Like, there was talk when Caterham was still around that they were going to hopefully try and buy out a Caterham seat just to give Kevin or Stoffel some experience in the meantime, but that's not really longer an option either.
Yeah, because right now the only thing I could see Ron doing, because Ron is very anti-third cars and anti-B teams. The only thing he would possibly do is buy out a seat in another team, which is not possible right now unless he buys out probably like a seat at Force India or something.
Exactly, which again comes with its own set of problems. So yeah, like a bit of a logjam at McLaren at the moment. It's a very very strong driver lineup, and obviously we've spoken before about the gambles that come with going from the best engine in the sport to Honda. But there is a lot going on in the Woking camp right now. It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, and especially what happens to their younger talent, because Stoffel Van Dorn and Kevin Magnussen are obviously F1 quality as it is right now, and with no other seats to go to, they kind of have to wait it out and hope for the best. And not the best situation at all there. So moving on, Last night, we had the BBC Sports Personality of the Year award. As I said, the most misleading award in all of sport, because personality isn't actually judged. It's essentially a popularity contest. Let's not pretend like it's anything else.
Yeah, that's what happens when you leave it to a popular vote and not have a panel of actually qualified people to decide.
Yeah, like for those guys that don't know, again, if you're not listening to this from the United Kingdom or don't know what the deal is, the BBC Sports Personality of the Year award is essentially chosen by a panel of I use this in inverted commas, experts, who choose 10 nominees from that particular sporting year who they deem worthy of being a possible contender for that award. The nominees this year included world champion boxer Carl Froik, Lewis Hamilton, Rory McIlroy, Gareth Bale, the Real Madrid footballer, Izzy Arnold, the skeleton bob girl who won our only gold at the Winter Olympics earlier this year. Yay for Great Britain. We got one! This is not the dominant Americans again.
Wow.
And a few other guys and girls as well. And did you see that Mercedes missed out on Team of the Year?
Yeah, to the England women's rugby.
Yeah, England's rugby team, and they beat the World Cup winning Germans. Not entirely sure I'm digging that one, but hey.
Tugging at them England versus Germany heartstrings.
Of course, because why the hell not? So that was, of course, a thing. Chris Hoy got the Lifetime Achievement Awards, and obviously more than worthy. Arguably our greatest Olympian ever. That man's got thighs of granite, like I mentioned on the last podcast. And yeah, Chris Hoy is an absolute legend back here, and more than deserved his Lifetime Achievement Award. Just for not just for obviously his achievement, but he's done so much for cycling across the country as well. So that was awesome. But yeah, in the main event of the evening, the actual Sports Personality of the Year award winner at the end, it came down to Joe Pavey, who came in third, and then the big surprise, bookies' favourite, Rory McIlroy, was beaten into second by, of course, Lewis Hamilton, who, like I said earlier in the show, became the first Formula One driver since Damon Hill back in 1996 to win the Sports Personality of the Year award. Hamilton was obviously a two-time runner-up before in 2007 and 2008. I think he lost out in 2007. I think it was to Joe Calzaghe, the boxer, and I think he lost out in 2008, ironically enough, to Chris Hoy that year. And Jenson Button was a runner-up as well in 2009. He lost out to Ryan Giggs, and what I like to call the "we kind of owed you one" award. So we'll kind of give you yours now, basically. So yeah, basically it wasn't even close. Hamilton had about 32% of the actual final ballot in the end. It was a landslide win for Hamilton. He had almost the same number as Pavey and McIlroy combined in the end, who came second and third. I was a bit surprised, I think King was as well, I was a bit surprised that Gareth Bale ended up in 8th.
Yeah, that was insane. I was like, I mean, in my heart, I was like, that's why I knew Gareth Bale should be.
Dude won the Champions League this year, like...
But he plays for Real Madrid. You're acting like, yeah, without Gareth Bale, there's no possible way that Real Madrid could have won the Champions League.
That is a good point. They seem to gloss over the fact that Ronaldo scored more Champions League goals that season than anyone ever has in one competition, and he got his reward because he won the International Sports Personality of the Year, dethroning one Sebastian Vettel to win that award. And I'm still mad it wasn't Marc Marquez. But really? We'll get to that another day. But yeah, like. Bale was in 8th, and I was cool to see Lizzie Arnold actually crack the top 5, which did surprise me as well. But then a Christian woman came in 4th, and I'm like, huh? Like, never underestimate the posh British vote, everybody. But it's kicked off a bit of a flame war between Formula One and golf.
I mean, this is so awkward because when it comes to skill versus actually people putting you in that position, probably golf and Formula One are complete opposite sides of the spectrum.
Exactly.
Where it's like in Formula One, it's 70% car, 30% driver, no question, no doubt about that. In golf, it's nearly all the golfer.
Yeah, it's nearly all the golfer, a little bit down to their equipment and whatnot, but for the most part, it's pretty much all down to the person in charge. And in F1, you have to have so many things go right and go your way to be a success. That's why it's only happened to a handful of people over the years. And, like you said, 70% of any achievement you get in F1 is down to the car, and 20% of it is pretty much down to politics. Like, you might be an amazing driver, but you might not have the rub of the green to get a top level seat and be able to truly show how good you are. See Hulkenberg, Nico for more information. But
part of me has always felt that's a part of a driver's skill set to get in that top seat.
It's a good point. It is a good point. Yeah, a lot. Being able to play the politics game is definitely a factor, I would say. So, yeah, that's a very valid point. Essentially, a lot of golfers got mad about this. I know Ian Poulter on Twitter went absolutely berserk on this one, called the award an absolute disgrace that McIlroy didn't win. And while the funny thing is that me and King are both in agreement, I still say on merit it should have been McIlroy. And winning back-to-back majors and the Ryder Cup as well in the space of one calendar year is insane, quite frankly. And I said it on a previous show that people do care in this country about the Ryder Cup, because I know people that never normally watch golf will tune in for the Ryder Cup because it is still special.
Yes, like golfers consider it even above the 4 major tournaments. It's the greatest prize in golf.
Exactly, and the Americans take it extremely seriously, the Europeans take it extremely seriously, and like I said, in this country, people will tune in purely because of that reason, because of the fact that it is the Ryder Cup and it is something special. What probably didn't help McIlroy was the fact that he did all his achievements in the first half of the calendar year, really, and the Ryder Cup was a little while ago, while on the opposite end of the scale, Lewis Hamilton's World Championship win was about 3 weeks ago, which didn't help.
Not at all. When it comes to political science, you kind of want to have, when you have a political debate heading into election, you kind of want to have that debate as late as possible if you feel like you're going to win it.
Exactly. You want to be as fresh as possible in people's minds. That goes for any reality TV show or popularity contest. The closer you can get to the end, the better, because if you're fresh in people's minds, you can steal some votes right at the end from people who probably wouldn't normally vote for you. And it kind of helped as well that Mercedes' Twitter page was very, very active during the event, encouraging people to vote, and the usual, they were, very, very social media savvy, like they always are. I think Mercs are the best team on Twitter for that, quite frankly. They are very good at what they do, and getting people behind him, and vote Hamilton, vote LH44 was trending throughout the night, which definitely helped. And, it's one of those things where it comes down to it being a bit of a popularity contest, because that's what essentially this is.
Yeah.
So let's not try and pretend like it's something more than that, because it isn't. And it's a nice little middle finger to the people earlier who were questioning Hamilton's popularity. That should be all the proof you need right there.
And I find the BBC Sports Personality of the Year awards just strange, because number one, it's the only Sports Person of the Year award, major one award in the UK. In the United States, we have 4, and only 1 is based on popular vote.
Which is?
The ESPYs by ESPN.
Oh, yes, indeed, yes. So I know of the ESPYs, and I know there's a voting process for that as well. And I know you were proper mad about Ronda Rousey winning Women of the Year. But go on.
Yeah, and the third award, that's given out by the Sporting News magazine. That's also just awarded by the magazine, and you'll end up seeing, based on when they're given out in the year, and based on there's definitely a difference between the ones given out by magazines and the one given out by ESPN, where you see the more popular athletes win over the more successful ones.
Exactly, and rule number 1 of life: don't put any faith in the public for a contest or anything like that, or a popularity contest. These things work in very strange and mysterious ways, from my experience. But I know a couple of people were hating on Hamilton on this one, mainly because of tax avoidance, in that because he lives mostly in Switzerland and Monaco these days, he's doing it to avoid paying tax.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, you brought it up on Twitter how Rory mainly lives in Florida, but that's a different example. But it's like, are you really gonna question someone's patriotism based on where they live, especially when Rory McIlroy chose to represent the Republic of Ireland in 2016 at the Olympic Games?
Yeah, that did not go down well. Like, for those guys that don't know as well, like, we've had a long-running beef with Andy Murray for being Scottish for quite a long time. The stereotype is true. When Andy Murray wins, he's one of us. When he isn't, he's a blasted Scot. And we had the same thing with Greg Rosetsky, who was, whenever he won, he was English. Whenever he didn't, he was Canadian. And we've had that nature of basically being loyal to somebody when it's convenient. And it didn't help when Rory essentially admitted that he's going to represent the Republic of Ireland at the Olympics rather than Great Britain. And yeah, of course, you could always bring up the fact that he dumped his fiancée via text message, which didn't help either. Which, a very likable fiancée in Caroline Wozniacki as well, who was actually quite popular over here as well for a little while. So that probably didn't help his chances either there, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, I know the International Golf Federation is, like, the Olympic field is going to be limited, but no matter what country Rory represents, he'll most likely be eligible, because regardless of what country you represent, if you're in the top 15 golfers in the world, you're automatically qualified for the Olympics in 2016.
Hooray!
So that wasn't an issue for Rory. It wasn't an issue of qualifying for the Olympic Games. It was, I don't know why.
Yeah, for a guy that's born in Northern Ireland, why would you want to represent Ayr for anyway? I don't understand that.
I mean, yeah, it's so strange. I mean, I tried reading quotes about it to prepare for the episode, and it was like, it wasn't an issue of religion or anything. He just feels like he should represent Ireland, because as in the team representing the United Kingdom is called Team GB, as in the island of Great Britain.
Exactly. So yeah, I can see why he's done it. I just find it all the more confusing more than anything else. When the tax thing was brought up, and the way I look at it is this: like, Lewis has earned the right to live wherever the hell he wants, quite frankly, and it's something that not very many people have the freedom to be able to do, and if he wants to live in Switzerland and he wants to follow Swiss law and pay their tax rate, he's more than entitled to do that. He shouldn't get criticised for that. Like, he's chosen to live there. Like, what's it to do with you guys?
But I mean, that's the thing. I mean, now that he races for Mercedes, it kind of makes sense. He's closer to the Stuttgart Mercedes corporate headquarters. But besides that, there's no logical reason for him to live in Switzerland.
Yeah. I get that.
Besides, it's beautiful. Switzerland is a gorgeous place.
Oh, that. Okay. So it can't possibly be the country's beauty. It must be the tax. Like, I don't know how much of that is genuine criticism, how much is just our own cynicism as people, more than anything else. And, it's just one of those things where, because this happened, in case you guys didn't know, it happened with Marc Marquez as well, earlier this week as well, and this week, where he was called into question for taking the decision to move to Andorra, mainly because a lot of bike riders live in Andorra and they all train together, so it made sense for him to go down there and train with a lot of people he knows he's close to and friends with, like Danny Pedrosa. He's very close with Bradley Smith, and other riders down there that have moved, and the Spanish did not like this one bit. Essentially implying or thinking that he was doing it to avoid the tax that he paid there. And a lot of people, like, there was a petition that was on the internet, like, oh, stop being fans of Marquez, and it gathered 45,000 signatures in less than a week. So a lot of Spaniards were willing to turn their back on him, and he was called into question on this at the MX event the other day they were having down there this weekend. And Poor Mark broke down into tears when explaining that he was still going to pay Spanish tax and pay his taxes to Spain, despite the fact he was living in Andorra, which obviously is without tax for the most part, and Andorra was making a big deal about having him down there as a big marketing gimmick to have, arguably the world's best bike rider down there living in their area, which I guess kind of helps for marketing purposes. But yeah, a really crazy situation where Marc Marquez, who might be the happiest man in the world, it's kind of surreal seeing him crying and being genuinely very upset and hurt at all the abuse he'd gotten.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the sentiment of the Spanish people, and I also, Marc Marquez is playing a little bit of a game, because technically he still has to pay Spanish taxes no matter where he lives, because to Spanish citizens living outside of Spain, you still have to pay taxes, but you pay it at the lowest rate available. You pay it at 24.75%. That's the lowest tax rate in Spain. Everyone outside the country pays that. But if Marc Marquez were to live in Spain, he'd be in the highest tax bracket where the tax is 54%.
Ouch! I didn't know Spanish taxes were as high as 54.
Yeah. To say he's not avoiding taxes would be untrue. Would be technically untrue.
Technically, that would be a bit of a lie. Yeah. So basically, there is a small element of tax avoidance to this.
Yeah, his tax burden gets cut by more than half.
Yeah, which is, make of that what you will. It depends on how. I think a lot of this boils down to how cynical you want to be when it comes to this, and I suspect it's more down to Mark getting bad legal advice, probably from someone in his camp, because I don't think you'd be crying over something like that unless you were genuine, quite frankly.
Yeah,
and
like when he's, I'm pretty sure he probably phrased it, will I still be paying Spanish taxes when I leave? And his lawyer probably just said yes, not telling him that it would be almost half.
Yeah,
I'm guessing
there's been some kind of miscommunication or some bodge where that's been concerned, where it's been lost in translation somewhere, and people have turned on Marquez very quickly, and I think even he, was very surprised at the response that it gotten. And like I said, I don't think you'd sit in a press conference and get tearful about something like that unless there was an element of genuineness to it. I don't think he's that shrewd. I don't think he's that kind of person. He seems like a very, very happy-go-lucky guy, and he seems like a genuinely very nice bloke. And I've seen him on TV. I've seen him in interviews. I would never expect him to do something like that. So when I say that I tend to give him a pass on this, because I think it's more his camp that have either miscommunicated or have told him something really stupid without doing their homework, and I think the Spaniards, who are obviously going for a really, really bad economic time at the moment, are probably bit on that more than likely.
Yeah, I mean, him moving to Andorra, it kind of falls. It falls in between Lewis and Rory, where Rory kind of has to live in Florida because it's one of the only places in the world where you could golf all year round.
Indeed, yeah, exactly, and it is. I think that's very true. I think Lewis lives outside in Monaco and Switzerland because he can. I think, and for Marquez, I think you're right. I think it's somewhere in the middle. I think it's definitely more convenient for him to live in Andorra, given his job, which is kind of a big deal. I think it's definitely a lot more convenient than living in Spain. And obviously, yeah, there is an element of tax avoidance down to that. But even so, that's not his fault. That's the Andorran government's fault. Jeez,
it's not their fault. Andorra's so well off they could have literally zero income tax.
Yeah, that's cool. Who wouldn't want to live in something like that? Shit. Let's be real here. If we all had Hamilton money, would you want to be giving half of it away?
Yeah, I mean, Spanish taxes is a pretty large percentage of what Spain makes. It's about 36% of their economy.
Good lord!
So when someone dodges taxes, it's serious there. It's not oh.
And I can understand as well, because it's not the first time that somebody Spanish has done that. Didn't you tell me that Alberto Contador and Danny Pedrosa have done that too?
Yeah, because both of them mainly reside in Switzerland, so they don't pay taxes.
Yeah, I know Contador didn't go down well for that. I think Pedrosa kind of got away with it to a little bit to the degree. I don't think there was a lot of heat when Pedrosa did it, but interesting situation there. And me personally, I like I said before, I think there's been a big miscommunication, or someone in Marquez's legal camp has made an almighty mess up of this, and I think he's taken a lot of unfair stick, quite frankly, because given the nature of his job, it makes good sense to live in Andorra in the same way that, as my bad example pointed out earlier, McIlroy living in Florida makes perfect sense for a golfer. Like why would you want to live in like this country to play golf? Like, we don't have that many quality courses, and like I said, Florida, the weather's great all year round, and that's
and like half the state of Florida is just golf courses.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
Even Walt Disney World has a golf course.
Oh, good lord. Well, when you put it like that, I'm sold. So yeah, essentially that's a big thing. But yeah, I thought that'd be a good thing to address as well. Finally, before we wrap up for the night, Esteban Gutierrez. Yes, he is still in Formula One. Kind of. He has signed on to be Ferrari's test and reserve driver. Looking very suave and sophisticated out there. So he's now under the Ferrari bracket there, staying in the Ferrari family really more than anything else. Given he was formerly at Sauber, so now he's going to be the backup to Sebastian Vettel and Kimi Räikkönen down there.
Yeah, I mean, there's multiple reasons why Ferrari would want to make this move, and I mean, Esteban Gutierrez, he isn't the best driver, but I would say he's the best driver not with a top team in academy or literally team-wise.
Yeah, so you say maybe of all those guys that's not part of an umbrella, who's not part of a top-end team and is not in F1, you'd probably go with Esteban?
Yeah, because I mean, all the other standout young drivers are signed on with other teams.
That's a good point. That's a very good point. Like, somebody should give Antonio Felix da Costa a call, but he's with the Red Bull. He's under the Red Bull brackets, and yeah, that's probably a bit difficult. But yeah, I mean, it makes sense for Ferrari. I don't think he's a completely terrible driver. I just think he was very making up the numbers kind of guy when he was at Sauber. Just obviously his car was limited. His car was terrible this year, which didn't help. But even when the car was halfway decent in 2013, he never really kicked on from that 1 points performance he had in Japan. Nico Hülkenberg kind of blew him out of the water, which it didn't help that Hülkenberg was so good the second half of that season when you're comparing him to a rookie in Esteban. That was always going to be a bit of a nasty situation, because how good are you expecting the team to be for you when you've got Hülkenberg under your bracket, who is a top tier driver in mid-card clothing, which obviously didn't help. But it's a nice pull for Ferrari. It can't hurt to have a decent third driver. You never know what could happen, and I'm sure Esteban would do fine in that environment in a one-off scenario, I suppose. But,
yeah, and the little cherry on top from Ferrari is that Esteban Gutierrez is from a newly developed country where the economy is booming. So there are a lot of people who have come into money who are now able to buy a Ferrari.
Exactly. Yay, Mexico. But yeah, absolutely right. Having that kind of feather in your cap. I mean, Ferrari is a much cooler brand than Sauber, so even if he's not driving at the Mexican Grand Prix when that rolls around next November, just having him in Ferrari leathers around the kind of marketing camp that obviously Ferrari has, which is obviously just a huge global power draw there with Ferrari, and with Mexico booming as it is. Yeah, overall, I can totally see why that would make sense, and it's a nice little feather in the cap for Ferrari to have down the road as well. Just to wrap it up as well, did you get a chance to see Formula E this weekend, King?
Yeah, I saw Formula E. I was so impressed by John-Eric Verne.
Wow, John-Eric Verne was superb this weekend. For all intents and purposes, that was his win, and I don't care what Buemi tells me. Like that was his win.
Yeah, if his car didn't have technical problems, he would have had the race in hand.
Yeah, no doubt. He played his fan boost on the final lap. When he locked up, he outbroke himself, cut both chicanes to keep Verne behind him. And of course, Verne has a technical breakdown on the penultimate lap. So of course, John-Eric Verne keeping his Formula One luck with him by having a last lap failure, which robbed him of what was a brilliant rookie performance there. Like he was on pole, and it was a brilliant pole lap, and I really hope Andretti can make a play to keep him around long term, because he's exactly the kind of guy this series needs, in my opinion.
Oh, I don't think he's going to be in this series long.
Um,
Because, I mean, a lot of people are kind of like playing into it because the open seat in IndyCar at Andretti is the number 27, and that was the number John-Eric Verne raced with this weekend.
but yeah, not ideal. Again, it's a shame if he doesn't, because I think Verne would be a fantastic pull for this kind of series. And man, for all the talk, Formula E certainly ain't boring. Like, holy crud, like almost every race has been action-packed so far this season. We had Prost, Heinfeld colliding into each other. Obviously in the rookie round in the inaugural round in China. Malaysia had some cracking racing going on there. All the way through the field, Sam Bird dominating. You had Servia, PK, you had the Edams cars coming through the field, and now we had, was it 4 safety cars?
Yeah, I couldn't keep count.
4 safety cars in Uruguay. Half the race was under a safety car, which is a little bit unfortunate. Those sausage curbs wreaked havoc with Sam Bird, who was trying to fight his way through the back unsuccessfully, and Matthew Brabham, who was on track for a fantastic race. He'd started 19th and got up to 8th place, and then one sausage curb later, he's in the wall, and now he will be memed to all eternity, because he basically sat down with his head in his head in his arms, laid down like Mick Hackett in 1999, and just sprawled out across the floor, dejected with himself.
I remember the memes almost started immediately. I remember just going on Reddit. It was probably on the front page. I was like, Formula E's on the front page, click it. It was like, it was just a meme. It was like, when Bay says she doesn't love you.
Oh, poor Matthew Brabham. Poor guy. That's so unlucky. Yeah, like, it's hard not to feel a little bit bad for him there. Yeah, but in good news, Heinfeld finally scored his first point. Hooray! There is some justice in this one. I was like, at one point, Heinfeld was leading, and I genuinely thought, like, holy crud, this could not last. Like, the space-time continuum would be out of warp if Heinfeld had good luck. And of course he didn't, because he basically broke the minimum pit lane time limit.
Yeah, he was desperate. He was desperate.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yeah, exactly. So, essentially, you know, the balance was restored to the force by Nick Heinfeld's penalty. But yeah, if you haven't checked out Formula E already, they're incredibly social media savvy. I think the whole race is already on YouTube. The FIA, they didn't even bother putting that shit down, which is what we like to see here. So yeah, the whole race is already on YouTube. Go check it out. It can't hurt. It's only an hour long. It was very enjoyable.
I know a couple of the drivers have been feeling like, oh, I'm basically being harassed by other teams on Twitter. I think it was, I want to say it was Sam Bird. I'm not even sure it was Sam Bird, but it was somebody who was like, why don't you guys leave me alone?
Like, the teams are unbelievably good with Twitter. Like, Amlin and Aguri are fantastic. Virgin are very good. Mahindra are very good. The teams are so social media savvy, and they deserve top praise for that, because that's what we like. We like being treated like we're special, and you know, and like I said, I applaud the FIA for their media and you know, those involved for their media approach with Formula E, because I think they're doing as good a job as they possibly could. Very generous, very open with their time. I think they're totally going about this the right way, and I'm very proud to be a fan of them right now, and I'm definitely enjoying the way that the product is going at the moment. It's only going to get better as well.
Yeah, but I'm kind of happy that Formula One's kind of taking notice, since they announced they're launching an official YouTube channel next year.
Woohoo!
Don't get excited. There's going to be no on-track action on their channel.
Fuck! Oh.
Bernie said we might as well just put the interviews up on there because it won't hurt anybody.
Oh, for God's sake. Why even bother? If it's just the interviews, like, nobody cares about the interviews, okay? like, seriously, like, nobody cares about that. Like, just, you could even put the race edits on there. That would be half a start. Like, seriously.
Yeah, I mean, the race edits already put on their own website, so they might as well put it on YouTube.
Like, why not? Like, YouTube is a much bigger avenue than their site. I'm sorry, it just is. Like,
Yeah, I have. It's been forever since I've been on the official Formula One website.
I'd never go on there. So, like, why the hell not just put it on YouTube and get a few extra viewers that way? It can't possibly hurt. But, yeah, that'll just about do it for this podcast. Special thanks to King. You can check him out at Twitter at Ryan Eric King. That's 2 Ks, by the way.
Yep.
And at his site, the, what was it again, King?
TheFormulaI.com.
With a hyphen. Don't forget that. It's
Yeah.
important. I've got that wrong so many times it's not even funny. We'll be back, hopefully, later in the week with the Bike Live gang to talk about MotoGP and to take the piss out of Rebecca Speedway stuff. Because that never gets old.
I can't get on her about it because since it's almost motocross season.
Oh, God. So that's bound to be a fun one. I hope you guys enjoyed the slightly shorter podcast. Let us know if you enjoyed this shorter format, because it's for all intents and purposes, this is a university project, and, you know, I like getting decent feedback. So if you like the shorter shows around the hour mark, or you don't mind it if we go longer, maybe towards the 2 hour mark, let us know. I'd love to hear you guys' feedback as always. But yeah, until next time, from Ryan and me, thanks for listening, and we'll catch you guys next time.